Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping into a really fascinating theological debate that's been making the rounds online. It's all about the true nature of the Hindu goddess Devi. Is she simply a partner to the gods, or is she something much, much bigger?
So, a very common way to think about the goddess is through her relationship with male deities, right? You see it in her names, her stories, her art. But as some people have pointed out, seeing her only this way might mean we're missing the bigger picture entirely.
I mean, we see these names all the time. Shivpatni, which means wife of Shiva, or Vishnupriya, beloved of Vishnu. They're beautiful titles that frame her as a divine partner. And for so many people, that's a really powerful and valid way to worship her. But what if that's only one part of a much deeper, more profound truth?
Well, according to a school of thought called Shaktism, the goddess isn't just a partner to the gods. Get this, she is the very power that makes them gods. She's the source. This idea introduces us to the concept of Adi Parashakti, the ultimate primordial reality. In this view, she is totally independent, completely self-sufficient, and the absolute power from which the entire universe, including all other divine beings, comes into existence. And this leads to one of the most powerful sayings you'll ever hear in this context. Without Shakti, Shiva is just Shava. It's a play on words, but the meaning is incredibly deep. Without her energy, her Shakti, even the great god Shiva is totally inert, lifeless, like a corpse.
And this chart just illustrates that point so perfectly. See, Shakti isn't just some vague energy. It is the cosmic power of will, of knowledge, and of action. Consciousness itself, which is personified as Shiva, literally cannot create or even move without her. She is the animating force of everything.
So what this really means is that she isn't just one being. She's the origin of all divine forms. She manifests as Maheshwari to complement Mahash, Vishnuvi for Vishnu, Sita for Ram. These roles as consorts are forms she chooses to take on, but she always remains the original, independent source of all power.
Okay, so hold that huge idea of the supreme goddess in your mind, because now we're going to connect it to a figure you probably would not expect to see in this conversation, the mighty Hanuman.
You know, for most of us, when we think of Hanuman, we think of the perfect devotee. He's the absolute epitome of devotion, loyalty, and selfless service to Lord Ram. That's his main identity in so many traditions.
You bet there is. In some northern Shakti and Tantric traditions, we find a completely different, much fiercer role for Hanuman, one that puts him in the direct service of the Divine Mother herself.
Yeah, in these traditions, he's known as Hanuman Veer, or Langur Veer, and here he's a Kshetrapala, a powerful, sometimes terrifying guardian who protects the sacred spaces and temples of the Devi. He is her loyal warrior.
And look, this connection isn't just some abstract, dusty theological idea. It's brought to life in one of India's most famous and beloved pilgrimage stories, the legend of Mata Vaishnav Devi.
So the legend goes that the goddess, in the form of a young girl, is being relentlessly pursued by an ascetic named Bhairanath. She flees up the Trikuta mountain and hides in a cave to meditate. But as Bhairanath gets closer, she calls upon her guardian, Hanuman, in his Langur Veer form, to stand watch and fight him at the entrance to the cave.
And this role isn't just some obscure folklore. It's actually immortalized in the famous hymn, the Durga Chalisa, with the line, Langur Veer Chalat Agavani, which basically translates to, as goddess Bhavani rides her lion, the hero Langur Veer walks before her as her vanguard. He's her honor guard, her first line of defense.
But here's where the story shows not just her power, but her supreme authority and compassion. After she defeats Bhairanath, the goddess grants him salvation. She declares that any pilgrimage to her shrine will only be complete if the devotee also visits his. She holds the power of both destruction and liberation.
So, okay, we've woven together these different threads. What do we actually take away from all this? What does it tell us about how we can understand the divine?
Well, it reveals this incredibly rich, multi-layered reality. A reality where the goddess is both the supreme, independent source of everything, and also an active participant in these divine dramas. It's a reality where a hero like Hanuman, who we know for one incredible story, has other equally important roles that we might not expect.
And ultimately, this gets us back to the heart of that online discussion that started this whole thing. These views don't have to cancel each other out.
You can absolutely have a personal, devotional view of the goddess as a consort, while at the same time recognizing the immense, independent, all-encompassing power that is Mahashakti.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Maybe the labels we use for the divine, wife, beloved, mother, warrior, maybe they aren't supposed to be rigid boxes. Maybe they're just different windows, each one offering a unique view of a reality that is, in the end, completely boundless and far beyond any single definition we could ever give it.